Hello, I'm George Bucher, Managing Director and Co-Head of MarshBerry Specialty Practice. Serving specialty firms such as MGAs, MGUs, and wholesale brokers, we're here today to talk with John Colis. He leads Euclid Insurance Services, and one of the growth means that Euclid employs is incubating and developing underwriting talent into larger books of business. John, thank you for being here today. Do you want to give a personal introduction and a little more color on Euclid Insurance Services?
Sure, thanks George, and thanks for having me today. I appreciate that. So Euclid can be thought of as a platform for the launching of new MGAs. We never buy them, we always start them from scratch, but we think of them, even though they're startups, we think of them as startovers, which is really critical to our conversation today. So we are a place for best-in-class underwriting talent to come if they meet our criteria, to form a new MGA, which they will own a significant equity piece of. We wrap our corporate arms around the NewCo, providing all the critical functionalities, accounting, HR, IT, compliance, etc. And then we get them paper and off they go into the future.
Yes, and it has been a very exciting time and dynamic time when it comes to this structure that you're talking about. Again, Euclid being literally decades ahead of others on this front. What are some of the reasons as to why underwriting talent may find a structure like Euclid to be attractive?
Well, first of all, unlike when I started our first MGA many years ago, the barriers to entry in this business are significant. And it really wasn't the case 30 years ago. But today, the insurance carriers are requiring best-in-class functionalities. That takes a lot of work to build out. They're expensive. And not to mention the data requirements that a carrier requires. So a platform like ours is almost a turnkey in a sense for a great underwriter. And our visual on it, George, is all of our centralized staff sort of running down the playing field, blocking and tackling, so that the underwriting partners only have to worry about one thing and one thing only, underwriting.
It's quite the unique opportunity if you think about it, because so many individuals and firms will form, but they don't necessarily think about all of the distraction that goes on in the back office. I can see a reason why underwriters may find a structure, a home, if you will, like Euclid attractive.
It's super attractive to them and to the carrier partners.
Very good point. So obviously critical to any delegated authority organization.
Right.
When you look at the partnerships that you have formed, how do you assess the success levels or key performance indicators of these are our objectives, this is our expectations, and how do you look back and say this was a win or maybe wasn't?
We start at the most important point. We're an underwriting company. We care about underwriting profit. That is our mantra. And in that sense, we take a long arc underwriting approach, and the whole thing is built around generating profitable premium. So that's our number one metric. Equally important with that is you have to have enough volume to cover your limits multiple times and to then generate a growing program. So of course we care about top line premium, that's essential, but the underwriting profit is our number one KPI, if you will.
Words to live by in the insurance taking space, no doubt about that. So as you've looked at your various experiences, have you invested into many partners, underwriting partners that is, what are some of the key takeaways or the lessons learned that you think should be known as individuals contemplate, do we want to set up such of an incubating structure?
Yeah, I can only speak about from our own experience, sort of what's worked for us and what we care about. And I think they're predictive for most people, but for us particularly, number one, we never try to lure or attract partners into our world. We want them to really want to be there. Mm-hmm. And what we tend to find is we enter into a sort of a process of mutually deciding whether it's a good fit or not. And funnily enough, almost always we come to the same conclusion, yes or no. So this is not about trying to hire somebody, in our world anyway. It's about finding a partner who works in our environment. So that the number one thing is just looking for people who want it. I would say the number one predictor of success for a partner in our world anyway is desire. They really have to want to own their own MGA, start something from zero. It's not a casual undertaking. So desire and passion on their part, which informs around success in a very significant way. I would mention too, in terms of what we do and what people might want to avoid doing, at least for our shop, we never violate any kind of covenants. So when we talk to these potential partners, if they're under a covenant, either a non-solicit or a non-compete for a period of time, if they're really good, we'll bridge them for the period and honor their contractual obligations. In fact, even a potential partner who might be talking about not honoring them, it's a bad sign for me. We expect our people to honor those obligations, and so we want to do that as well. So that's a side note, because when you're talking about lifting teams, that's a critical issue. Mm-hmm. The last thing I'll say is we have found success in attracting partners who then attract partners with them who they might have worked with in the past, but aren't with them in their current company. I'm not wild about, and we've done it before, sort of taking 3 people out of the same company, but it's also nice if you can get people, we're in the middle of one thing like this now, where there's a bunch of people who all worked together in the past but are in different companies now. That's kind of nice if you can do that. Having
that shared level of commonality in historical working together, I'm sure has a lot of...
And experience with each other, because the emotional fit is critical.
It's been a pleasure, and to our audience, thank you as well. Until next time, be well.